Hello, I'm Daniel, and this is my wife, Kimberly Graham.
And we're your money mastery coaches. We work with high earning power couples to guide them to financial harmony in their financial communication.
Utilizing the Affluent Synergy Framework, even if you meticulously budget every expense and talk money to your partner.
Find out more at theaffluentmarriage.com. We can't wait to help you live in love
and walk in wealth. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Better Together Tuesday. Look, I don't know if you guys fully understand how the back office works here on this podcast, but basically, I show up, I host, I do the thing. I have tasked my wife with going out and finding these people, and I don't know how she does it. She just keeps finding these power couples, these incredible, amazing people, and she found another just wonderful couple today.
It's what I do.
How do you do this?
I'm really good at what I do.
You're really good at what you do. Guys, our mission is simple. We want you to take control of your shared finances and strengthen your relationship by aligning your goals through strategic communication. So we have found another couple who just thrives in communication, has done some pretty incredible things, and I'm excited to hear more about it. So I'm going to invite Jim and Clarissa Valeri to the stage. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?
Hi.
Oh, man, a little hungry, but we're doing well.
I hear you. Thanks so much for having us on. Really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just so excited because, again, having this conversation about communication, we were just talking before we got started that we met at we're going to shout out a group, the Marriage Support Group, which is absolutely amazing. A great place to
gotta love MSG.
MSG.
It's great in Chinese food. It's great for marriage support.
Some Chinese food. You'll get some MSG.
But it's a really great group where you can bring some of these concerns and learn new things about how to better your marriage. And we were actually experts talking about different parts of marriage. We were talking about money. And Jim brought the house down with was it you who did the pancakes?
Yes, that's right.
Oh my God, you gotta talk about it.
With pancakes.
You gotta talk about the pancakes today. So
I'm so hungry.
I'm sorry. I should have done that.
MSG pancakes. Let's talk.
So I thought, just keep it rolling. And we bonded because they actually, Jim and I don't want to say it too much. I'm going to say too much. Had a very common thread that we both had with money. So I thought it would be awesome to hear your story. So first of all, who are you? How'd you guys meet?
Sure. Well, you want to start? You rock it out. Ladies first. Do it.
Okay. So once upon a time, I went to art school and I met his sister and she invited me to free pizza night at the cafe. And I was like, yes, because I have to go to work after this and I'm not passing up free food. Absolutely. And then I get there and her brother was driving her to church. So he was there. And I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. Then he kind of like lost his pizza in the pizza conveyor belt. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, I don't know about this.
A little grumpy about that.
When you say lost your pizza.
He lost his pizza.
So like someone else took my pizza. Like I had a special order and someone took it and I'm like, where the heck is my pizza? So I'm hungry and now I'm grumpy and this is my first interaction with this woman. So,
I thought lost your pizza and I was like,
I threw it up. No, I didn't.
No.
Like it
and
walked
so they
away.
found love.
Pizza was gone.
Yep.
Then I was like, oh, I don't know about this. This is a little like type A stress. You know what I'm saying? And then I had to carry all my stuff to the car. So when you're an art major, it is like your regular school books. And then it's your tackle box for one art class. Then it's your tackle box for your second art class. And then you have this giant like portfolio is the thing they call it. It's a kite. It carries you away. And he's like, I will carry your stuff. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like I got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I got a lot of baggage.
Right.
And I'm like, are you sure you want?
And
He's
you
like,
just
no,
lost your
no.
pizza. Don't lose my stuff.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. You can't lose my materials here. And he's just like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll carry all your crap. Well, like to balance it, you know, there's a method to the madness, right? Because you got to have the equal weight in both hands.
Correct.
And he loaded it all up, and then we had to walk down a 90-degree hill. And he did it all. And I was like,
ooh, knight in shining armor. Okay.
He like recovered.
Yep. And I turned to her and I said, and she was a really good friend of my sister, and I said, you know, I thank God for you because you're such a good friend of my sister. And that was the moment. Bam.
Ooh, that's it.
She was done. I was clueless. I was completely clueless that she was interested in me because I'm like, oh, she's blonde. Blondes don't like me. You know, that was literally the way it was.
Okay.
And so we started hanging out, and we're sitting in Bertucci's one day, and she's like, hey, I like you. I'm like, yeah, you know, I like you too. She's like, no, I like you. And I'm like, you like me? Really? Why? Like, it was
he was so
dumbfounded. But
like,
you know, the rest is history. We've been married 20 years. And I'm a therapist. I've been doing therapy for 20 years. So and subsequently I've been doing marriage counseling and stuff like that. And through some of the things that we went through together as a couple, we developed a pattern to a way to sort of manage problems and talk about, really our big issue was talking about money. And that's how we got to this place where we were like, hey, you know what? We can actually talk about problems in a dynamic way. And we did it over pancakes. And, you know, I use this with my other clients and stuff like that. And we built a course on how to do it. So it's been a heck of a journey.
I love that so much. I love that pizza is something that binds you both together. There was pizza and then there was Bertucci's. Like, I feel like, did you have pizza at your wedding? Was there pizza in like the wedding party?
No,
we had a turkey dinner.
Yeah, turkey dinner at the wedding. Homemade turkey dinner, yeah.
Was it around Thanksgiving?
No.
Okay. I thought it was just
summertime turkey.
But when you're doing it yourself, you do what's on sale. You put it together. It was a sit down dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes. No, I love that.
His mom made the meatballs because, you know, they're Italian.
Yep.
It was a sit down turkey dinner.
I love it. I love it so much.
You got to make it work.
So I find that with each of our people that we've connected with, there are so many fun stories that we've heard. And we actually had another couple come on and they had a wedding. Well, we had one last week or whatever. I guess I say last week, but it was our previous our last recording. They kept their wedding a secret for 9 months before they told everyone and had a real wedding. Okay. Right. I know. Isn't that cool? And then there was another wedding that we heard that they had their wedding for $50. Yeah, that was Natasha. We always bring them up because they have like the most like a crazy story, but they had their wedding for like $50 and they were like, nah, this is good too. I just love like listening to people's origin stories, like couples origin stories, because it starts from that space of just like, yo, I love you. You love me. Let's just go do this. Like that's really what it comes down to. And something happens as you go along where there's a rift, where there's a crack, where there's life that likes to poke up and go, what you gonna do about this? And so walk us through how like your first probably iteration of that was the money part. And so talk about the pancakes thing, because that was the coolest story.
Do you want to like dueling banjos this, or how do you want to do it?
I'll tell my side.
All right, you tell your side.
Okay. So I am analog, like my favorite pen and a piece of paper, and I write the budget, and it wasn't going to work. And I called my grandmother for advice, and I was just like, Mama, the budget doesn't work. When that happens, what do you do? And she's British. She's like lived through it. You know, she's in her 80s. She's like, well, dear, you need to stick to the basics, you know, potatoes, rice and beans, you know, you're going to go back to the beginning. You're going to eat a lot of soup. And I'm like, okay, but like $800 a month is not soup money, Mama. Right. And Jim was launching the practice for the first iteration of the practice. And she's like, you need to tell your young man to go back to work. And I was like, he is not going to take this well. Are you kidding me? And she's like, well, darling, we all know that the secret to a man's heart is through his stomach. And he will handle bad news better with pancakes. And I was like, okay, my mom knows best.
Mom.
She's like, and I know you don't want to do this. So you're going to call me Saturday afternoon and tell me how it went. And I'm like, great.
Oh my gosh.
She's going to call me. I have to do my homework now. She's going to ask me how it went. And I was like, so, hon, we need to go out to breakfast. And he's like, nah, I'm like, mom's orders. We're going out to breakfast. And he's just like, and I'm bringing a backpack of calculator and the bank statements and the note. He's like, what? You're packing for a trip. I'm like, we're going out to breakfast and I'm bringing your laptop. And off we go. And we found this adorable diner. It was like 50s themed and really
Love
cute.
It.
It's awesome.
It was so great. And he's like, okay, so we're now on coffee number 3. We've now eaten. I'm pulling everything out of the bag. The waitress is like, oh, off she goes. She's like, I don't know about this. He's like, what's go? She was cute, but she knew I was on.
It was about to go down.
Right.
It was about to go down.
And poor Jim is like, what is happening here? Like, what is this? And I'm like, these are the numbers. These are the numbers. Never the two shall meet.
Yeah.
Like, this is math. Math is math.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do about it? Because I was kind of hoping he is a smart man. Like, I married for intelligence, right? He's going to put
two and two
the numbers together and come to his own personal conclusions of going back to work. Because if it's my idea, hard stop. I'm not being supportive.
Yes.
I'm not being like the nice wife. I'm not like putting his dreams forward. You know, I'm cutting him off at the knees. So I'm like, I married a smart man and I need to wait for that to emerge.
Absolutely.
And so then do you want to tell your part?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell my story.
Okay, tell your part.
So I was trying to launch my private practice for the first time. And initially it was going pretty well, but it just kind of started to tank. And I didn't want to admit that I was failing. Mm. So we were having some financial struggles. And she was working full time. Mm. So she's like, Jim, I can't support this anymore. So anytime we talk about money or we talk about whether or not I could keep my private practice going, there was always this sort of like argument about me going back to work. I didn't want to go back to work. I'd already done corporate therapy, which is like you work under a big, corporation and they pay you like a fifth of what you would get normally for therapy. So you get paid like almost like in today's standards, it would be like minimum wage plus basically for therapy. So I was like, I'm not going back, damn it. And so basically we just, she's like, look, man, like these are the numbers. We got to do something. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of said, all right, we have to make these numbers work because, we've never been these couples that go on big vacations. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They go on vacation every quarter, and doing all this stuff. We've never been that. We've never had that money. So we were always kind of very conservative with our spending. And so it kind of came to this point where she's like, yeah, we need to sit down and talk about this. And so we sat down and talked about it. And I was like, oh, you mean this isn't sort of a negative dig at my identity. This isn't a negative dig at me as an earner. Mm-hmm. This isn't like, a slight against me. Mm-hmm. You're just talking about the reality, because for me, it was like, I took that personally, and it wasn't personal. It was numbers. Yes. And so once we kind of realized that, and I realized, oh, she really wants to like figure this out. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe this is a safe place for me to talk about money with her. Maybe this is okay, because we would just yell at each other. It was bad. It was really, really bad. We were yelling at each other anytime we talk about money. It was yelling. It just means that I'm not a good earner, and I don't want to hear that. Like, it was just crazy stuff. Yeah. And we had that meeting. We both felt like, oh, okay, like this is good. And so the next Saturday we did the same thing. We sat down. Okay, how are we doing? We're cutting back on this. We're cutting back on that. We took a car off the road. Okay, cool. And so we ended up doing more of that. And as time went on, it was just a routine. We just kept going every Saturday morning. This is before we had kids. Yeah. Before we had kids, we were doing all of that. And eventually it got to this place where we could talk about other problems. We couldn't, if we could talk about money, the thing that we were yelling about the most, we could talk about other stuff. And that's where we're like, wait a second, there's something to this. Like, we're leaning into the problems instead of avoiding them. Because a lot of couples, they want to fly under the radar. They don't want to go and talk about problems. And that's where I took this and applied it with some of my counseling clients, and they started getting results, and their marriages started getting better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, honey,
it's working.
It was really, really cool. So I'm glad her mom encouraged her to do that.
Oh my gosh, the wisdom.
Yeah.
My mom Mom for the win. Way to go,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Way to go, Mom. And not only that, like what I love about what Mom said, Mom's the MVP, is that Mom challenged you and said, I will call you, right?
I will call you.
Because and this is why I love coaching so much. Like I love therapy so much, because it can be, you need someone that's an outside source to say, I'm counting on you to do this task. And I'm going to hold you accountable to what you said you wanted. And like that is because sometimes you can't rely. I mean, as much as we like, but if we're not on the same page, I can't rely on you to be my accountability partner. Like it's not, this ain't gonna work, right? We can say, oh yeah, like we're doing something now where we want to like work out more. and like you kind of need that outside source to be like, did you both do it? Because it's easy to be like, nah, I'm tired too. You know what I mean?
I'm feeling doing that.
I'm not feeling it, right? But
fun.
Right. That's not fun. But like the outside source to be like, I'm counting on you to do this is so invaluable. And so that was probably a huge catalyst for you.
That has to go with that. They have to trust that you are capable to do this thing. They don't have to intervene. They don't have to be there. They don't have to hold your hand, but there's going to be that check-in.
Yeah.
And I also think that check-in's also kind of like, yeah, this didn't go great. What are we going to do next?
Right.
There was poor response. How are we going to like backpedal this? And what's the next task? And that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I was like, nope, pancakes were thrown. We are now outlawed from the diner. You know, you don't know. That waitress like kicked us out. You don't, you know.
Right.
And I was like, okay, plan B. What's the plan B? But we also found that through practicing this communication on purpose, we would save anything that was really causing an issue or a meal plan or something was getting in the rut. And as you practice, it's a muscle, just like you're working out, and you get stronger. But then you get to the point where you can dream and you can plan for the next 3 years. And you can say, yeah, you know, I think it's time for a kid. Mm-hmm. Or, yeah, you know, I think it's time for us to think about the second kid. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's time for us to think about like pulling that jalopy off the road that he's been driving for 15 years. You know, maybe it's time we need to dream about, what are you thinking about for a new car? Why don't we budget for that?
Yes.
Why don't we do it on purpose? Not when your car really, really dies, you know, going 60, lighting on fire, all that stuff, engine drops out. We're not kids anymore. We don't need that. Our hearts can't take it.
We don't need that stress.
We don't need that stress.
We don't need that stress. Let's not let the next car die a horrible death. Let's like plan on it.
Put it down peacefully.
Take 3 years.
Right. Let's know what's going to happen.
There is just so much gold and things to just unpack in that story. Like, as I was listening, like I'm hearing, like, you know, if I just recap this a little bit, like number one, like you already talked about having that mentor, cheerleader, accountability partner, like all those things outside that are just cheering you on and wanting the best for you and like giving you that sound advice. Like that's gold. But then also setting that time in place and being intentional, like you intentionally leaned in to the problem and said, we're going to fight. All right. I know your name's not Pam, but there's just too many connections.
Like, I think her name is Pam. I really hope her name is
We're
Pam.
big Office fans, and you guys might not watch The Office, and this might be over your head.
He hates The Office. I can tell.
Yeah, Jim's
like
I can't stand it. But like, as soon as you said art school, I'm like, oh, I wish her name was Pam.
Oh, that would have been so funny.
And she went to art school. But like, man, so like you were hoping, you know, if you could balance art supplies, maybe you could also balance a budget. Like you were like really leaning in, and just the consistency and continuing to have the conversation. Like it wasn't just going to be done in one showing. Like you were going to keep coming back and having that conversation. So the consistency, the intentionality, setting that time in place. I mean, just be willing to fight, you know, for your marriage and be like, this is a problem, but we're not going to shy away from this. Like we need to lean in. Like there's just so many directions we could go.
I think I told you that our safe place was Starbucks. So
yes,
it started off
coffee.
Because it was the same thing. And I just love and I'm just lifting these things up for listeners who are listening, who are going, oh, wow, it really gets to be that simple. Yeah, actually it does. But it's that intentional, like even the posture of how you come into the space has to be a different type of posture. Right. And so, you know, for us, if we were home, I would be looking for any excuse to escape. So I don't fight in like
fight or flight.
He yelled at me one time and I was like, nope, you're going to find me in a cocoon. I'm going to be over here in the corner. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. And nothing would get talked about then. I would be a complete, like, I wouldn't talk. So for me, I would find any way to escape that conversation. So by going to Starbucks, if I'm, you can't be mad when you're sipping something that's so yummy and coffee and it's a nice atmosphere and you're like, all right, now let's talk about it. Right. And we're like, okay, I will give you 20 minutes of my time. Right. So over pancake breakfast, like this is where we're going to have, it becomes like that routine that you look forward to with also something that you're like, this is a little bit tough to talk about. But that posture of how Clarissa came into it wasn't a posture of this is what you did, which is, I love that you came with that like comparison. That's how it always felt. Right? Always felt beforehand, but she came in with a posture of this is the reality. What do you think about this? And that is so powerful that you came in with that type of posture that wasn't target on your back. She didn't
bring the ammunition, right? She had all of the rounds that she could have put into the weapon and loaded it up and been like, let's end this. Like this job, this whole thing, like it can be done today. Like I've got the ammunition.
I got the answer.
But that's not how she approached the conversation, right? It was just like open and honest. Hey, these are the numbers. Like what are we going to do about this? Like I want to make this work.
So I know we have a time constraint. So I want to make sure we get to some like really important like things to talk about and give you guys a chance to share, what you do and like, tell us different ways that we can work with you. But how has this affected situations or decisions that you're making even now? Like you said 20 years you've been married and that was like the beginning of your relationship. Like how has that affected even now? Like those simple moves.
So it kind of helped us a lot sort of look at things from a different perspective because we were like, wow, we've got all this debt. So we had to work on that. So we started reading Dave Ramsey. We got into that. Then we started working on debt snowballs. So then eventually she finished her bachelor's degree and got a degree in ceramics, which is the equivalent of basket weaving, which is, but I was like, well, she's got a degree, so that's great. And then all of a sudden, she started teaching ceramics. The next thing you know, one day, this ceramics teacher at a high school called her up one day and was like, hey, I'm 8 months pregnant and I fainted. Can you like teach my class? And she was like,
yep.
She was like, Jim, I kind of want it. I'm like, well, go get it. And like within a week, they fast tracked her in. The very next week, she's teaching high school ceramics. Wow. And I'm like, wow, you got a ceramics degree and you're actually doing ceramics, which is pretty amazing.
It's incredible.
And so she took the money from that job and we started hammering debt left and right. Like she was like, bam, bam, bam. She's like punking it out because it was extra, really. Mm-hmm. And the degree paid for itself. And we started punking that stuff out. So it was really helpful for us because we were able to start kind of getting out of that debt situation. And then we were able to, like, I think last year, was the last year and a half ago?
18 months ago.
18 months ago, we moved to a new house. We got out of our old house. We were a family of 4. We were in an 800 square foot home and we were upside down like $100,000 on this thing.
Man.
Like it was bad. And so now we were able to sell the house, get into a new house that was like almost 3 times the size, and it worked out really well. So we were really excited about that. So ultimately, that initial foundation started us off in a good place and then moved us forward to where we're like, okay, let's get out of debt, let's manage our money better. And then we were able to kind of, get into a new home that now we're like, okay, this we're going to hang out here for a while. This is a good place. So.
Yeah.
We did the tiny house before the tiny house was cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because now it's popular. Everyone's like,
oh,
get my tiny house.
All over Pinterest. I'm like, I've been doing that.
I've been doing that. I know how to do that flex. But
under bed storage.
Got that. But I mean, that's amazing because you're right. Everything that you did at that time frame helps you have other conversations. It builds on top of that. And the same principle, even 20 years later, still applies. Let's go get pancakes.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Right. And so our format of our meeting now has changed to where I'm like, okay, what are we doing this week? Where are the appointments? Like, where's the boulders and the appointments? What are we doing where are you going? When are you home? Do I have to feed you? Are you meeting people for coffee? How's this working out? Like, how he's now launching 2 businesses. I'm like, how is this going to affect me?
That's an important question.
Let's get real.
Yeah. So, yep. And any problems we run into now, we resolve them within like 90 minutes.
It's really quick. And I'm like, I need you to make 3 phone calls.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It turns into those. We have those safe place conversations wherever you have them. We don't have them at Starbucks anymore because we got little kids. But what we do now when we have these meetings is it turns into something where you dream more. And any conversation that we have that's like a tiff or something, like you said, resolves really fast. It's not something that we're going to hem and haw over or have resentment towards. It's like, oh, hey, I didn't like this. Okay, cool. Done. Finished. Done. Yep. We spend more time dreaming and strategizing for the dreams we have when we want for our life than.
Right. It's hard to dream when you're in a mindset and a place of survival and you're just trying to make ends meet. It's really hard to see further than like, your hand in front of you. So when you get to that point of like thriving and you're actually having these conversations and communicating, here you are 20 years later, still having those talks, you're having weekly check-ins, you're able to lean into these problems with ease and have these things resolved in less than 90 minutes where they used to take you weeks or months, of
years.
avoiding these conversations. Like now you can dream because you're actually in a place of thriving, right? Instead of surviving.
Dude, all because of pancakes. Oh, I love and my mom. My mom.
Yeah.
MVP. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Jim, Clarissa, let us know where we can find you and what you have going on. And then
hit your way, shout yourself out.
Yeah, for sure.
Find you everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically I run an 8-week marriage communication class. I targets mostly towards men because I kind of encourage men to sort of lean into it, but I do work with couples too. And I had a couple of couples work with me last year in trying to talk about this. So they can basically use this framework of sitting down, being intentional about sitting down and talking about problems. So a lot of couples sort of avoid it. And I'm like, no, like make time to talk about them because couples don't make time to talk about them. Mm-hmm. So the website that I'm running this stuff from is dynamicmarriagesolutions.com. Every now and then you'll get her along with me, which honestly, I don't even like if she really wanted to be more of a part of it, it would totally be cool with that because she's phenomenal. And I do one-on-one coaching with people. I give them a free call, initially just kind of like, hey, you know what? I usually try and give people one nugget of wisdom, one piece that they can take away with them because it's just kind of how I work. Like, okay, like give me where you're coming from. I'll give you something really solid. If I never see you again, if I never talk to you again, here, take this with you. Make sure you have something that you can use for your life going forward. So I do that. And so it's dynamicmarriagesolutions.com. I'm also on Facebook at Dynamic Marriage Solutions. I'm also on Facebook, Jim Valeri. I don't know. I'm on there. Just search me up. You'll find me. You'll find my goofy looking face. It's around there somewhere.
Ultimately, coffee chats are so good. Like he does coffee chats where he just talks about different topics, and they're so good. And they're short, sweet. It's just really good information just to kind of like be into. So it's awesome. Great way to get to know you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do those every morning. It's literally like. I look at it like it's drunk history. You ever watch that show where it's like they get historians drunk and then have them talk about history? It's like me before coffee.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes it's not that great. So Carissa's like, maybe you just wait and do it at lunchtime.
Like, nah, man.
And your better self is kind of coming around here. So I'm like, you might be right about that. So, I might change it up a little bit. But yeah, definitely love doing the morning stuff because I can just kind of just riff on whatever I want to talk about that day. Because I'm like, well, and it's just 20 years of experience. It's 20 years of stuff I've been doing. And it's like, I can just, it's like, hey, talk about cheating, talk about this, talk about whatever it is that people want to talk about with marriage relationships. I usually have a topic kind of hiding away somewhere. I'm like, yes, I totally want to talk about that. So
I love that. Man, I love that intentionality in action. We love that. So definitely make sure you check them out. And their story is amazing. Thank you so much for being here again. And to our listeners and viewers, we just want you to know that it really does start with the very simple topic or the very simple task of just being intentional and deciding to do it. And also that time and place is so important. So if you want to hear more about that, go check out Jim and Clarissa, Valeri, and also you can join our group. We talk about marriage, we talk about money, we talk about communication in there as well. And come back for more.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Go live in love, walk in wealth. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care, guys.